2023. And also part of that campaign for 2023 is we want to make sure that the PROTECT Act that we got passed last session is actually enforced. Because we're not seeing it enforced, it's the law, and we'd like to make sure this year we pump up that enforcement. So, and I see so many wonderful faces. Every time I look around, I see another person that I haven't seen in a while that I love so dearly, and I'm so thankful that you are all here. Most grateful for Senator, oh my God, I'm calling her a senator already. State Representative Robert Porter. Beloved people up there in the House because she stands by the people. No matter what she has to deal with to stand by them. I know that feeling all so well. Robert, you keep standing. No matter how much heat, you keep standing. And with every heat that comes behind you, let that keep pushing you forward. So that's why I love you so much. And so that's why I'm calling you Senator already. That's right. So I want to call up Rahisha Bivens to give you a welcome, and just before that I want to have Stop Solitary people stand up so that people know who we are. I'm turning it over to Rahisha now.
All right, well again, welcome everybody. Let's walk it up. And just want to acknowledge the Stop Solitary Steering Committee. Can you all stand up? Just give it up for this team. Not only ending solitary, but now, tackling, ending degrading and humiliating strip searching in Connecticut. And just like Barb said, you could be anywhere on a Saturday, you're here with us, it means a lot. I personally got involved in this work when my brother was still incarcerated inside. He's not, thankfully, anymore. But we know everybody in this room, there's a personal connection and a personal touch in many cases. And we just, as a team, don't want people to suffer inside, because when they suffer, they come out more harmed when they enter. And so just as you listen today to people telling their stories on the piano, listen from your heart, right? Like everybody should have the opportunity to be rehabilitated in Connecticut, right? Because nobody can be defined by their crime or their record. So thank you again for being here, and we just really wish you an amazing time that you're going to have with us this afternoon. Thank you.
So that we get right into the program, I want to introduce our first panel. We're going to have two panels. The first panel is going to be a panel of people who have actually experienced the DOC, and I'd like to, that mic's not working? Okay. And so I want to introduce them first. After we eat, we're going to have another panel of organizations who are actually, they work beside us to try to bring the youth voice into this work, because we want people to recognize when we're talking about what's happening to adults in the system, you need to know that our children are facing that same experience. And it's an experience that they may never recover from. So we have to really keep our young people in the front of this fight. So I want to start with introducing our panel. Leighton Johnson, you can just raise your hand, people know who you are. You can say a little bit something about you and then pass it on.
Say hello.
Yeah. Leighton, defining words a little.
Define my words?
No, defining is little.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just here because the fact that strip searching is done in Connecticut, not just Connecticut, but this is what we actually be focusing on, is inhumane. I've experienced it. Even going back to when I was a juvenile, and I didn't even think about it until recently that I experienced that as a juvenile also. And it's dehumanizing, it's emasculating as a man, as a black man. It makes you feel like it's reminiscent to slavery. Should I keep going? Or
No. This was just to introduce it. Then we're gonna have you talk
survivor of that. So I'm here to tell give my insight on that.
Thank you, thank you. And finally, we have Terry Ricks.
Hi, my name is Terry Ricks. I am a survivor of being sexually assaulted on every level within the system, out the system, survivor, a life survivor of this situation that we need to bring light to. It's just a crazy feeling when the two places that you think, one you're supposed to be rehabilitated and one you go for higher learning is where you get molested at. Isn't that a very, very shocking situation? So we're here to bring light to the things that we experience with inside the walls, but also some that we need to bring light to what people dealing with outside the wall upon their release. Thank you.
Thank you. And I want to especially honor those people who tell their stories because I know they're painful stories, they're triggering stories, and I always want to be mindful that as you tell your story that you're not being re-traumatized again. And I know that's really, really difficult, and so I really honor you that you take the courage to come out publicly and talk about, what you've been through. I know there's a lot of anxiety that's built up just thinking about it, so I just want you to know I acknowledge all that. So thank you for doing this for us. And so I just want to start off with a question, and then each one can answer it, and then just say whatever you feel to say in the next 10 minutes. Okay? So how would you, if you could give me one word to define how you felt at the moment that you had to go through strip searching, if you can think of one word, if it's possible, what would that be?
Cry.
Humiliated.
Soulless.
And I just want to say publicly, I was in my 20s when I was incarcerated for 15 days. I don't really talk about it. But I know this is over 50 years ago, and I remember walking in there and having to strip down in front of people, strangers. And I was raised deeply religious, that your body was private. And so to have to go into this place and stand before these strangers and have to strip down. Like I said, I don't even talk about it because 50 years later I can still feel that humiliation. So, just want you to know it doesn't go away when they walk outside that door. If 50 years later I can still feel it, it's a trauma that you may never recover from. So, just say whatever you have to say, because I have to move out of this space right now.
Yeah, like you said, it's something that you really don't forget, you try to suppress the emotions, while you're going through it as well, and after the fact, of course. You really don't want to remember, and a lot of people that that have been through that process or act or that have been incarcerated and experienced it, they really don't. They tell themselves that they don't even want to look at it as for what it is. So many probably will not want to speak about it. They won't. They don't want to speak about it because of the pain behind it, because of the experience, the pain from experiencing it. While you was going through it, you don't want to really think about it too much. So,
Nah, that was if I could just, ask anybody, like, if, let's say, can I get, if I could be like, let me see, somebody, like this. Somebody standing, you got 5 to 6 people standing in front of you, like this, you chained up, and each other. Take off your drawers, right? Or pull down your drawers now. Turn around, squat, open your rectum, and cough. How does that make you feel when I do that? First of all, I'm invading your space, right? How do you feel when I'm doing that to you? And that's just me. It's just one person. So imagine you got 5, 6 burly dudes, aggressive, intimidating, telling you to take off your clothes. They got a camera on you. You're chained up, telling you to face the wall. The first time I experienced that, I bumped against it when I was in segregation, and they told me to open my rectum, cough, and I told them no, I ain't doing nothing. So that made it even worse, because behind that, from my hand being broken, that's the worst feeling that you can feel ever, and it's similar to. It's a form of control, but it's similar to what predators do when they prey on people in a sexual way. In Connecticut, specifically, like I said, I experienced this when I was younger also, and I didn't think about it when I was in detention as a juvenile. And they do the same thing to kids also, but as an adult, when I did my time here in Connecticut, and that's the first thing that they introduce you to when you come in the system. It's like, here, welcome to the system, so that you can know that we got control over your body, everything, every aspect of you. And that's what they do, and it's an intimidating factor. And it's unnecessary, specifically in places where there's no contact. If there's actually no contact, we have no visits, for instance, northern, other places, northern is closed, but this was a practice that was happening. There's no contact. So what the hell are you strip searching me for? Why, when I leave my cell, you have to strip search me for what? If you're talking about contraband, how can I get contraband? Only way I can get contraband is probably through one of these officers. So are they being strip searched every time they come in or every time they walk around? Then they also had a thing called, I don't know if you experienced it, brother, but some of the COs would laugh and joke and say, nuts and butts. Before they tell you nuts and butts, like they get a kick out of seeing other men's genital areas, and it's just out of control. I could go on and on for you. But just the experience of being intimidated by 5, 6, 7. Sometimes it's even got female staff standing there also. So they have a thing talking about they don't want the female staff to be like I can't even have a picture of a female with her buttocks hanging out, because I get a ticket for that. But I can have a CO standing there watching me strip, be humiliated, violated. There we go, violated. So that's oh yeah, and it's sanitary also. And I don't want to take over this whole situation, but we're
gonna hear from you. I wanted a female voice.
Your female as well.
Because it's a whole different experience.
For the moment, well, let me start off here. I've been arrested 87 times in many different states. So just imagine the amount of time that I was violated by women COs that like women, men COs that predators, to the point to where I stopped going to visits to see my own child. Because every time I went, I was getting pissed stuff up. You shouldn't be pulling, no disrespect, you my agenda, please. If there's something needs to come out at that point in time in my life, I should have been able to take it out. And what are you looking for? What can I hide? And this is what's going on in my life. If Little Red Riding Hood is coming through the park, there is no reason why you should be going up in there looking for anything. But those are the main times that they violate you. And it literally got to the point that my family would drive all the way to my hand and I would not show up. I'm not coming. Because I knew the humiliation that I had to deal with. Then go visit my daughter and my family and try to be joyful. There was no joy in that. You know, so then to you, middle of the night, you go into the shower and or you go into the bathroom and you pull back the door and the seal got a Emmy in there and just straight she looking at me like hell, but what could you do? You got to close the door and mind your business. You are put in so many different scenarios. You're not only being preyed on, you're watching predators prey on everybody around you, and you are not to say anything. The system is a destroyer. I gotta call it for what I see from my experience. There is no rehabilitation and nothing that happens in a prison system. And then once he writes you and you turn him down like this man said, then I couldn't go to child hall because now I was being targeted by those who, okay, against the wall, now you don't feel me. It's always something in those systems where they're trying to break you. So I broke myself. I'm gonna break y'all. I'm not going anymore. You have no other way to touch me. And that is what, like he said, buck against the system. If you don't buck against the system bucks you. But we're supposed to be rehabilitated. That's like trying to put hooves on a horse that ain't ready for him. He kicking back. And especially when he's not expecting it. You coming from behind the horse, you're gonna get kicked back. And that's where they come, from behind, and violate you from behind. Everything is behind, like this man said, who say, boy, come on, man. That is violation, sexual abuse, mental anguish in every way, shape, or form that we deal with in these prisons, and it needs to stop.
Did anyone else want to say anything? I don't want to cut anybody off. Okay, one thing I want to remind people is to just take this moment to share your video. Share the video.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, I'll ask Pastor John to tell you.
Where you go to, God bless you all. Go to, on your Facebook, you go to Christ New Testament Church. It's got the emblem of the church up there, and you can just share that with all the groups or those that I think this is very important for others to hear and for them to see. This is something that is of an urgent matter. For real, this is an urgent matter. So, again, hit your groups. It's Christ New Testament Church. Go up there and then share that link or share that page with your friends, all right?
Thank you. And so, if the panel doesn't have anything else to say, I wanted to, did you have something else to say? I wanted to bring up one of our members to talk about.
I wanted to thank you for giving us the opportunity to even have this platform to even share our stories. When you first came to me with the idea, I jumped on it because no one has never heard these stories. And it needs to be a place for these stories to be said. Yes, it brings up feelings, emotions. I had a pit. As soon as you said what you said, a pit hidden in the middle of my stomach. It was like, trying to get rid of that pit. These are the platforms that we need. And I don't have, if my story can save anybody, transparency is all that I can be. I'm not ashamed of anything that I've gone through because I think that made me who I am to be. So I want to thank each and every one of y'all, Sasha,
and part of the work is educating. That's why we had this, what we said, a legislative luncheon. We really wanted to educate the legislators. So then when we go up there talking about we want to end routine strip searching, first we want them to not miss the word routine. We're not saying no strip searching. We're saying this routine blanket policy of putting people through these humiliating, degrading, dehumanizing experience that they may never recover from. For what? They need to know that the connection to what DOC is doing across this nation is what the institution of slavery introduced to Africans when they came to this country. And they started taking away your humanity by stripping you down and doing it in the public. And that's exactly what they do now. They strip you down in front of all, don't tell them how many people, for what? And that's what we need people to understand. So when we talk about ending this routine strip searching, it's really, let's stop dehumanizing, degrading, and intimidating and humiliating people every single day, including our children. And that's what bothers me the most. I was in my 20s, and I know what it did to me. Imagine, we're doing this to children. For what? What are the charges that say that this is okay? And where's all the people saying that there's something wrong with that? Is it because the prison systems across the nation are over 50, 60, 70% black people? That's why it's okay? And that's why I need your voices, because you need to let people know it's not okay. And I'm letting them know I'm fighting it. I'm going all the way to Supreme Court on this. I'm not stopping. This needs to stop. Stop dehumanizing our people just because you can. Stop. So I'm going to turn it over to Katie.
I don't know all that. All right. Hi, everybody. My name's Katie. I'm a PhD student at Yale in the School of Public Health, but I'm also a steering committee member for Stop Solitary in Connecticut. I have had the great pleasure over the past few months to put together a website that really details the history, the background of strip searching in Connecticut and across the nation, as well as really lift the voices of those who have experienced it and are experiencing it currently in Connecticut. And if anyone doesn't know what this is called a QR code. If you put your phone camera just up to this image, it's also on one of the documents in your folder. It'll actually just pull up the website, which is like cool technology. I don't really know how it works, but if you want to get it on your phone, I'd suggest really taking the time to sit with the website. There's a lot of really great information and especially a lot of really great stories. You can read through in your own time, and it would be great as well if you could share the website with friends, family, colleagues, really anyone that you think needs to know more about this. And we'll also just give you a look as well on the big screen. So this website, like I said, starts with kind of the overview as well as the history and the background. So it should give you a definition of what is strip searching, why do we have strip searching, what are its current uses for it, right? And included in that is Connecticut's administrative directive that really details all the different instances where corrections officers are allowed to strip search someone, and surprise, it's like whenever they want.
One minute, can you back up just a little bit?
Yeah.
I want to show our picture of our
Oh,
team.
Bob loves this picture.
Yes. This is our picture, our photographer there. He doesn't know, but this is our signature picture now.
We love
Phenomenal photographer. As soon as we see this picture, we say, that's got to be our signature picture for life.
Yeah.
I don't think your mic is working.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I'll go closer to it. But yeah, so if you go along the top, there's some tabs here that you can kind of click through: history, stories, maps, all of that. But like I said, to start, there's a lot of information, definitions of what we consider to be sexual violence, and I think you'll easily see that strip searching is state-sanctioned sexual violence. So really take the time to read through the history and background. We also give information about how it very clearly links back to the legacy of slavery in the United States and how it is truly rooted in racism. And we give a example, just a small example from 12 Years a Slave, but there's probably many more. It also gives really important statistics and information about adverse childhood experiences and how many folks coming into prisons and jails already have previous experiences of both physical and sexual abuse during their childhoods, and how these experiences of strip searching can be incredibly re-traumatizing. So I think that's a really important context to have as well. The site then goes into stories, and these I think are the most powerful part of the site. And again, I would encourage you to sit down with these in your own time. They can be a little heavy, so make sure that you're in a position where you're ready to read them. We had so many folks that are currently and previously incarcerated, many of whom are in this room with us today, so graciously and bravely share their stories, their words, their experiences. Some wrote songs, some called me, some wrote poetry, all types of stuff. So really there's a lot here. So I really encourage you to look through that on your own time. I can't even explain what they said, because you really need to hear it in their own words. There is also information on, like if you're not familiar with the facilities that are around Connecticut, we have some maps that you can kind of take a tour of all the different facilities that are in Connecticut, and it'll have statistics on how many folks are housed in those prisons and jails, including their racial breakdowns. And if you're not familiar, I think you'd be really surprised. I know a lot of the folks in this room wouldn't be, but surprised by how most of the prisons and jails are so drastically made up of Black and brown folks. We also have some resources that you can link to about different stories in different states, as well as resources from other institutions that have published about this. And we also have a growing list of endorsements, many of whom I see the companies represented in this room as well. So yeah, the map can kind of like take you on a tour. It hops around. It's kind of fun. I would suggest looking at it on the desktop. But yeah, that's the website.
Thank you, Katie, for that. She's so modest, she act like it was not a big deal, but she put a lot of work into this, and we're so proud to have her on our team. I want to bring up now like I said, our beloved future senator. I will hand the mic to her, and she can talk about her experience with all the work that we bring to her. We always know we have her support, and that's why we love her.
And we stand with you always.
Always, always. I don't care who is behind you. We're behind it.
First, because we are in the house of God, I am going to give glory to the love and the Lord of my life. The faith that I am rooted and grounded in is what has really kept me in this work. This is hard work, and the people in this room know that. So, I want to thank you, Ms. Barbara. I want to thank your team. I want to thank Ms. Ann for being here. All the way from North Carolina to be here today. I want to give a really special shout out to my colleagues that showed up today. I love and appreciate you all. And it means a lot to see you here today, supporting the efforts around Stop Solitary Confinement Connecticut and this new push we have on policy to end routine strip searches. So I'm going to put you on blast for a minute, so just go with the flow. Representative Johnson, would you please stand? but I'm not about the talk, I'm about the walk. And I appreciate you taking the steps necessary to be here today, each and every one of you. I always say teamwork makes the dream work, right? So this is part of the dream team that you guys are looking at in this room. I don't get to do anything in that building without the support of the people in the streets. And I like to call it outside interference. Because we work in a system that really is rooted and grounded in the status quo, right? And we operate from the vantage point of what we know. And what's really unfortunate about that is that people don't do the homework. They don't educate themselves. They don't know the history. And you can't know where you're going unless you know where you've been. So we need to understand that when we talk about policing and corrections, that it is rooted and grounded in slavery. That is what it is. We have to be honest about that. I was fortunate enough and blessed enough, and I'm going to put somebody else on blast, to take a trip to Norway. Because if you all don't know, Norway has the reputation of being having the most humane penal system in the entire world. So, Mr. Andrew Clark, would you please stand? Since I've been in the legislature, and what it dawned on me the other day when I saw him at the Juvenile Justice Policy Oversight Committee meeting was that he's worked for Bill Dyson. He came in with Bill Dyson, and he has continued on many different levels centered in this juvenile and criminal justice system to do the work necessary to make the changes that are tangible and real to the people that are directly impacted. So I want to thank you, Andrew, for your steadfast commitment to this cause, because this is near and dear to me for so many reasons, but specifically because I am a black woman in America, and that is my story. So a lot of times I speak from that vantage point. And you have two types of black people that I will talk about: descriptively black and unapologetically black.
Come on now.
And I am unapologetic about my lived experience in this country, and particularly in that building. And for the people in the room, there's no need to get into details, because you all have been in that building, you work with us, you see what happens, you know what goes on. So there's a level of accountability that has to come with that. And I do believe that everyone that goes in there goes in with the good intention of doing what's right. But it's not always easy. Let me say that again. It ain't easy. It's not. It's not. You know, it's easier to go along and get along. It's easier to fit in, and this is something I told my children growing up. Never, they say, get in where you fit in. You can force it. You can't. I need you to get in where you belong. Because we all have a purpose. God has put us on this earth with our own individual and personalized purposes. And that means that you have to find that sense of belonging. And if you are sitting at tables where you are not being loved and valued, then guess what? That folding chair that Shirley Chisholm talks about, you need to fold it up and get it.
Yes, it
I've called myself that from the very beginning. All of my mailers, when I talk to people, I'm doing things to put the word out. It is always unbought and unbossed.
That's it.
Right.
Unbought and unbossed. Because my debt is to the people that have entrusted me with this power to be in that building.
That's right.
I am indebted to my constituency, their issues and their concerns. But it goes even further than that. Because guess what? The laws that I pass or I push or I champion, when they cross the finish line and hit the governor's desk and he signs off on that, it's not just impacting the 94th district. It doesn't just impact New Haven and Camden. It touches all of our districts. And we have very different lived experiences, but what I can tell you is this. When you lift from the bottom, everyone gets elevated. Everyone. And we are in a system that fuels itself on, this trickle-down thing. And I'm here to tell you, and you probably already know, it's a terrible hoax. It doesn't work. We must take care of the people that are most vulnerable, most marginalized, most criminalized. And we know who those people are, and we know what they look like. So my thing is, as we sit here today and we listen to these stories, and we think about policies going back into the building, and how do we talk with our colleagues on both sides of the house, because I truly believe that this is an issue that should be bipartisan. This is an issue that we should all be able to agree on. So our homework, and I'm included in this, is doing the homework, right? They say knowledge is power. Well, guess what? That's half the truth. The application of knowledge is what's power. Because you can know what you know, but don't do nothing with it. It's a moot point. You don't do it for nobody. But what good is it for me if I have all this knowledge and I'm not sharing it and I'm not educating people and providing them? Let's go one step further with the resources and the tools and the funding that they need to get the job done. Right? That's a part of it. I sit on appropriations, right? That's the committee that gets to spend the money. Finance committee is the committee charged with finding the money. And I also sit on judiciary, so I do a lot of work with the criminal justice and juvenile justice system. And I can tell you, until we get on one accord and first face the hard realities of what's true and what's a false narrative, because there's a lot of false narratives out there. You know, and it is our job to educate ourselves. And this is not just, you know, I was watching something the other evening and they were talking about how, and this was a woman that just lost, and this was in the state of Connecticut, a mom that lost both her sons. In 2020, her first son was the first homicide of 2020, and this year in 2023, her last son, she had two, was the first homicide for 2023. And she said something. We quick to, you know, we want to blame the mayor, we want to blame the police, you know, we want to blame we want to blame everybody in the system. But we don't take no responsibility as a community, as a village, as people. And there's work that we have to do. And I always tell folks when they reach out and they're looking for something, whatever it is, you cannot depend on a system that was designed to devour you, to deliver you. That is delusional. They call me trouble. And I thank God for the congressman because he gave me the words to size it up just right. Good trouble. Necessary trouble. I'm proud to be a disruptor. Because this system needs to be dismantled. Let's be honest.
That's right. That's right.
It was designed with no good intention. The harm was intentional. The harm is malicious. So what we gonna do about it? We talk about registering people to vote. That's a good thing. But in 2020 in the state of Connecticut, over 550,000 people did not vote, and they were registered. So we're talking about 500,000 registered voters that did not make it to the polls. I'm gonna take responsibility, some of that responsibility, because we have got to be more earnest about getting out into our districts and talking to our constituents about what's really going on and why their vote matters. And your vote only matters if you holding elected officials feet to the fire. Because if you ain't doing that, you just being pimped and played. And as a black woman in America, I can tell you the communities that I live in, that's the status quo. We make a lot of promises, we get in office, and we don't deliver. And guess what? It ain't just white politicians. So let's keep it real. I'm speaking about all politicians in general. We have to do a better job at fighting against this system. As Sister Terry said, if you don't buck the system will buck you.
That's right.
And it's not just this criminal justice system. It is a political system. There are over 20 committees in that building. And every single one of them, I believe it's 27 in total. 26? 36. Wow. Okay, I was off. 36. And each one of those committees intimately and personally touches your life and the life of everyone that lives in this state, whether they vote or not. So if you ain't voting, you don't matter. Because the first thing we want to know is, are they my constituent?
Yeah.
Are they registered to vote? Because if you ain't, you really don't carry no weight. And the sad thing about it is, a lot of us are, and we still don't carry no weight because we're not showing up in full force.
That's right.
Because it's going to take full force to take it back. A lot of things have been stolen, co-opted, appropriated in ways that are not appropriate. And the only way that's going to change is if you
Yes,
get out there,
yes.
boots on the ground, grassroots. That's where the rubber meets the road. The work has to be done. The labor is plenty, but the laborers are few. It ain't nothing I ever dreamed of doing. Went on my dream list, my wish list, my bucket list. Many are called, but few are chosen. And I don't know why he chose me, because I didn't see none of this. But he did. And I know that obedience is better than sacrifice. So I'm being obedient to that. But I'm going to tell you, your help is needed. I need for us to be more involved. I need for us to get educated. I need you in the building. Because guess what? Your presence matters. Your story matters. There's so much, thank you, so much power in story. When we look at these bills, black and white, we read them, words on a page, and then you come to a public hearing, and you sit before us, and you give testimony like they did today. It ain't my job to change hearts and minds. That's God's job. But I am going to allow him to use me to make it happen. But I don't get to do that without you guys. So you need to go out from this fellowship today and talk to every single person you know. First thing you need to ask them, are you registered to vote? And if they registered, don't get happy because your next question is, do you vote? Who's your state elected officials? Who are your local elected officials? Who represents you in Congress? At the federal level. Because a lot of what we're trying to do here today, we're doing homework on a federal level for the state. Because it's all interlinked. It's very intersectional. And then your other job is to educate people. When you leave here today, share these stories. Talk to my colleagues before you leave here. Because they represent very different districts than what we live in. And I can tell you from knocking doors over the years, I've been all over this state. First of all, let me say it's a beautiful state. I never realized how beautiful Connecticut is because, frankly, of where I live. I'm in the Ville. And right now, I feel like I live in a war zone. Because it's like clockwork. Same time every day. Ambulance, police, fire, gunshots. Every day. And I've been doing this work for 9 years, and I have to ask myself, why is it that my district is still suffering the way we are suffering? If we in that building, we have so much power to make a difference in people's lives. Why haven't the conditions and the quality of the most deprived and depraved people in this state, why hasn't the quality of their lives changed? We've gotten billions of dollars in ARPA funding from the federal government. And we will never see that kind of money dispersed from the federal government in our lifetime again. I can promise you that. But where is the money? Pastor Moore, how you doing? Good to see you. Yes. Another prominent leader in the community, you all. Yeah. And our churches. We're going to talk about that too. We got work to do. We just celebrated Martin Luther King, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. And we always say it's not a day off, it's a day on. I want to know what y'all did.
All right.
What did you do? Who did you talk to? Who did you educate? Because I spent that weekend listening to their speeches. And it literally brought tears to my eyes. People say we've come a mighty long way. And what I will say is, I believe the southern states can claim that. But up top, that ain't our testimony. We starting to look like the southern states used to look. That's what we done. The things that Martin was fighting for, we still fighting for. And our schools technically have been desegregated, but this is the most segregated state I've ever lived in. Born and raised in New York, lived in Georgia, lived in New Jersey, now I'm here in Connecticut. The most segregated state I have ever lived in. The wealth gap, unbelievable. One of the wealthiest states in the union. And we got tent cities all over the state. One right here in New Haven. Or should I say next door in New Haven? Over there on Yale's Park. What kind of sense that made? People are, and I don't remember the man's name, but he was on the news talking about how he is getting creative around being a tent dweller. How he's making it more comfortable to be out there for himself. Because we are being pushed out of our communities. Affordable housing. You know what my question is when they start saying that? Affordable for who? Because it ain't affordable for me and my people. And I'm putting myself in that equation. I can't afford what they call affordable housing. And that ain't a far stretch because we don't make a lot of money. And I have actually walked away from my money-making job to do this work. So I really don't qualify for what we deem affordable in this state. We're pushing people out. We're pushing black girls out of school. We're sexualizing them. We're adulterizing them. I was just at Yale yesterday. How many of you heard the story of Bobby Wilson, the 9-year-old from New Jersey? Been living in her neighborhood for over 18 years. 9 years old. Her sister Hayden, 13 years old. I grew up with her mom. Her neighbor lives right across the street. Ex-councilman, elected official. She was so excited because you know our babies are bright. The system condemns them light, but they are bright. Geniuses. And she had been learning in school about lambflies and how they are like destroying the trees in the neighborhoods in her community. And she went on TikTok and she found a little recipe she could put together. You know, some water, apple cider vinegar, Dawn dish detergent, some of the stuff. She took a little mixture out and she's outside, you know, getting the lambflies, you know, gathering them, getting them off the trees, getting them off the sidewalks. And this man who's known her all her life watched her grow up, calls the police. He says there's a little old black lady, and she's putting something on the sidewalk in the trees. I don't know what the hell she's doing, but it scares me. And she has a hoodie on. Sounds like intentional harm to me. Because we know what has happened to our children in these streets behind those kind of calls. And adults, let's be real, just in general. Black and brown people have been killed for less than that. And this is a 9-year-old child, a 9-year-old girl. And when you look at her, you know she's not a little old black woman. She's a 9-year-old girl. Imagine how she felt when the police rolled up on her. Imagine how her 13-year-old sister felt. Imagine how her mother felt when she got that call. Imagine how her father felt. Because black men are emasculated every single day of the week and twice on Sunday.
Yeah.
Imagine how he felt. And I give them credit because both parents kept it cool and did what needed to do. And I want to applaud Dr. Opara at Yale. She works at the Yale School of Public Health. She saw this story and she brought this family to Connecticut to Yale. And yesterday, there is a silver lining to the story. our 9-year-old hero, Shira, has had her lanternflies put into Yale's, help me out, the bug thing. Entomology. You know I'm looking at you, Susan, because you the brainiac in the building. Susan knows everything.
She's in it, but I can't even say it, yeah.
Okay. Well, they recognized her, and her lanternflies, and they're beautiful. You guys can actually go on Yale's website for the School of Public Health, and you can just put in Google lanternfly, and it will pop up, and they have little labels with her name on them. So what the enemy meant for evil, God turned it around for her good. Yeah. And her 13-year-old sister went before the council, along with her mom. But you know, that's what adults do. Her 13-year-old sister found the courage to go before the council and give testimony on how racist that was, and the damage that it did to their family, and the damage that it did to this little girl, briefly, because the community and the people, and lifted her up in a moment that could have dimmed her light. Could have stole her steam for STEM. Because I think she's going to be the next scientist. She's probably going to end up at Yale. Yeah. We're going to speak that. And we thank God for that village. So I'm looking out at you all, and I see you as the village, every single one of you as the village. Know your importance.
Yes.
Know that you matter to my colleagues. Know that the people that we represent matter, no matter where they live, what they look like, what their zip code is. They matter. And we all just want to be the best version of ourselves that we can be. And we need to go and make sure that we are designing and creating and drafting and crafting policies that allow people to do just that. Be the best version of themselves that they can be. They tease me, oh, Robin, you can't legislate love. You know what I said? We've been legislating hate for centuries. Why not?
That's right.
Why not? Because love is just what justice looks like when it shows up in public. Right? That's what it is. Love is justice, is what justice looks like when it shows up in public. So we are, legislating policies that do that, right? Bring forth justice. And we always, we got this pledge of allegiance that we do. Liberty and justice for who?
Says all.
Yeah, that's what it says. But we know that's not true. So my mission and my vision is to live in a world, you love everybody, I do. Don't mean I like you. But I love everybody. And what's the difference? You would not harm the people that you love. You would do nothing malicious or intentional to hurt them. And even if you don't like them, if you love them and you can help them, you will help them. Because love covers it all. It covers it all. Now let's be honest, ain't nobody in this room perfect. Ain't nobody on this earth perfect. We all fall short. We all make mistakes.
Me too.
So let's not sit in judgment. Yeah, you too. Yes, I love you, but that's the truth. Amen. Amen.
It's always your own.
But yes, I just really appreciate you all coming out on a Saturday, joining us in this movement. This work means a lot because it has a tremendous impact if done right. We can't get it right unless you all are on board. I pray a lot. Yesterday morning I said, Lord, create me a clean heart. Renew in me the right spirit. And you know what he said back to me? You heard what you said, right? Renew in me the right spirit. Not a compromising spirit. A right spirit. Because there is no compromise in doing what's right. And the good Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said it. It is always the right time to do the right thing. Let's do the right thing. God bless you all.
And so at this time, again, we're gonna go ahead and take a break. But during this break, we're gonna go ahead and eat. Everybody like that there, so we're gonna go ahead and have something to eat. And if we can, I want Pastor Morris to come up and let us bless the food. Come on, Pastor Morris.